Hey everyone, it's Josie. Welcome to Eclectic Movie Reviews, and today I will be reviewing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm sorry it took so long to come out with a review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just really wanted to gather my thoughts in a cohesive manner, being that this is a very divisive film amongst audiences. Now, just so you know, about halfway through the video, I'm going to drop some major spoilers. So, when that time comes, I'll give you a hand gesture warning. Okay, here we go. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is my favorite movie of 2019 so far. It's hilarious, thrilling, and surprisingly heartfelt. I've been disappointed by a lot of movies and television this year, with all the lazy writing and cop-outs, but that's a completely different video. If the Oscars were tomorrow, I would hand them all to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Especially costume design and production design. And of course, cinematography. Robert Richardson is a brilliant cinematographer. The sets were not CGI or green screen. No. They built the sets, just like how they did on the old westerns that inspired Tarantino. The vibrant color of the props and costumes makes the 1969 setting of the movie feel modern. You can breathe the air of California in the big wide-angle shots of Brad Pitt driving his car. The soundtrack is now one of my favorite movie soundtracks. I've been listening to it recently on a loop. It has songs from Paul Revere and the Raiders, Deep Purple, Neil Diamond, and even the Rolling Stones. A lot of people are calling the film self-masturbatory and plotless due to the many 60s pop culture references and the long shots of Brad Pitt driving his car. In my opinion, that's a ridiculous argument. It's about an actor facing his own insecurity and his friendship with the stuntman. Tell me that is not a plot. Another criticism against the film is that Margot Robbie is not given enough to do as Sharon Tate. I am not trying to put words into people's mouths, but I am presuming what these people mean by her not given enough to do is that she is not their version of a feminist by 2019 film fandom standards. She is not a superheroine who kicks ass like Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, or Captain Marvel. She does not give elongated monologues explaining why she feels marginalized as a woman to push a feminist agenda. Again, I do not know this for a fact, but these are the kind of female characters that people have recently been pushing for in movies. Surely, Margot Robbie may not have as many lines as Leo or Brad. One person argued that you could cut Margot Robbie out from the movie and it would have no effect. Not that. I disagree. Without Sharon Tate, there would be no point in including the Manson hippies. Without the Manson hippies, there would be no movie. They're the backbone of the film, while Sharon Tate, as Quentin Tarantino and Margot Robbie state, is the heartbeat. Oh, excuse me. My paper fell. Let me just situate myself up so you guys can see me a little better. As far as how I would rank Once Upon a Time in Hollywood among the rest of Quentin Tarantino's movies, that's really hard, because I love all of the ones I have seen. I would agree with most people that Death Proof is his weakest. It's not his best movie, but it's good. Dan Murrell from Screen Junkies argues that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood takes what was weak from Death Proof and improves upon it, since they both revolve around the entertainment industry. Taking whatever you think about Death Proof out of the picture, you can rank the rest of his movies in any order, and it would be legit. Personally, I don't really like ranking movies in preferential order because favorites and preferences can change based on mood and time. Nevertheless, I would definitely put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood up there. And now I am going to be getting into some spoiler territory. So, that being said, click away if you have not seen the movie. But I've waited a while to put this review out, so most people have probably seen it now, at least people who've been dying to see it. Anyway, I have 3 major moments in the film. Remember, spoilers, just in case. Okay, number 1, Julia Butters as Trudy. One reviewer on the Nerd Soup podcast said Quentin Tarantino could have been making fun of the trope of kids sounding older than they really are. Whether or not this is true, arguably, although Trudy, played by Julia Butters, is not in the film very long, her inspirational words to Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, incites the rest of his character arc. When she gives him the acting advice and tells him, "That was the best acting I have ever seen." I love the way she delivered that line. He gains the confidence to move forward in his career doing spaghetti westerns with Sergio Corbucci. Number 2, the final battle. Understandably so, some YouTubers are comparing this scene to the final hour of Avengers Endgame. I, along with other film lovers on the internet, joked that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is sort of like the cinephiles' version of Endgame. They are both highly anticipated and star-studded. Additionally, they both have relatively slow build-ups towards a wild third act. The slow build-up towards the final scene, in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is such a worthy payoff. When Leonardo DiCaprio brought the flamethrower out, not only was it a callback to Inglourious Basterds, but also it was so unexpected. The dog-biting Tex, played by Austin Butler, in the groin was over the top and believable at the same time. Someone in the live spoiler discussion of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on the John Campea show asked, "Better dogfight, John Wick Chapter 3 or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?" Campea argued that the dogfight in John Wick Chapter 3 was better as far as action movie standards, but the one in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was more realistic in terms of how aggressive dogs can get if you let them behave that way. Number 3, Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate seeing herself in the Valley of Dolls at the movies. A lot of people complained that this scene served no purpose in the narrative. Sharon Tate went to see herself in the Valley of Dolls in real life, if I'm not mistaken. I could be completely wrong, but I think she might have done that. A similar situation even occurred in Quentin Tarantino's own life. He went to go see True Romance, which he didn't direct, but he wrote the screenplay for. Sharon Tate's character arc parallels that of Rick Dalton's in this scene. Both characters are concerned with their acting ability and how others perceive them. Actors trying to stay relevant in the public eye in a changing industry is just as relevant an issue today as it was 50 years ago in 1969. Setting Once Upon a Time in Hollywood against a pivotal shift in the industry allowed Tarantino to comment on the shift towards streaming services we are experiencing in the industry today, says Griffin Schiller from Film Speak, formerly known as Men vs. Movies. Schiller adds that he noted parallels between Tarantino and Rick Dalton. "I can only imagine that Tarantino wrote this character with his own insecurities of an industry on the brink of another shift in mind," Schiller says. "Will originality and the theatrical experience be preserved?" There are a lot of people who have a problem with Quentin Tarantino's approach to revisionist history. In Inglourious Basterds, the Nazi killers kill Hitler. And this, of course, did not occur in real life. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the Manson murders do not take place. this has caused some controversy. The difference between Quentin Tarantino's revisionist history films and Oscar-winning films that are, quote, based on a true story, such as Green Book or Argo or even Vice, is that Tarantino is not trying to teach audiences history or push any kind of political agenda. Margot Robbie said she hopes the film gives an audience an idea of Sharon Tate's cheerful, free-spirited lifestyle rather than identifying her only by her death. I'm excited for whatever Quentin Tarantino's 10th original film will be. Honestly, I don't buy into the idea that he's going to retire after his 10th film. However, I don't think he will make too many more movies after this one. I'm predicting he will make the Star Trek movie Kill Bill Volume 3, one more original film, and then stop after that. Unless he decides to make like 2 or 3 more, like I've said. But then again, he got married last November, and now he and his wife are expecting a child. Then again, I have no control over what Quentin Tarantino does. Nevertheless, I trust the guy to make something great. Now, I want to end this video giving some credit to some of the YouTubers I've listened to and borrowed some content from. Well, by content, I mean quotes. I'm going to thank John Campea from The John Campea Show, Griffin Schiller from Film Speak, everybody on the Nerd Soup podcast, and Dan Murrell from Green Junkies. And that will do it for my review of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. See you for my next review. Bye!